in the spirit of what's going on in the business right now, I think that these are some excellent providers that everyone should be bringing into their opportunities, especially, as it pertains to the SD-WAN space. Zero outages is a really solid play. So if you have MPLS opportunities or customers that have MPLS today, zero outages absolutely should be one of those companies that you bring into that conversation. If you're not talking SD-WAN when you have an MPLS opportunity in front of you, someone else is going to, and what's going to end up happening is you're going to lose that sale. So, the segue into Data2Go is that these guys could do a 4G, 3G, 4G wireless internet connection that works hand in hand with a SD-WAN solution because they can plug into one of the ports on the device. So they're also a great option for pretty much any customer, I say, because it could be used as a backup, for a smaller location like a like a pizza store or something like that. I mean, they could use it as a primary connection, and they can deliver virtually everywhere in the country. So I'm not going to steal on your thunder, Rob, but with that, and that wraps up Data2Go.
Thank you, Dan. It was a great introduction. I appreciate that. My name's Rob Senator. I'm COO of Data2Go Wireless. I have David Bruce here with me. He's VP of Technical Ops. Dave, you can hang out up here or you can sit, but I want you to chime in anything on the technical side that you want to be part of. So thanks for having us today. Special thanks to TCG. I really appreciate you guys having us out here. And to go into what Dan kind of led into, the way that our products work, we break it down into three different buckets. So there's the primary connect, there's the failover solution, and then there's the WAN optimization, which fits into SD-WAN, where we can fuel the wireless piece of that solution. So there's definitely things that we want to talk about, and Momentum and zero outages are definitely the types of customers that we work with to provide that full solution to the end user customer that you guys as agents can sell. But today what we're going to do is we're going to talk, to use a college reference, we're going to use the 101 level class. We're going to speak pretty much strictly failover today and maybe a little bit of primary connect. The SD-WAN is another full conversation. You guys know how complex it is. I know that Robin and John can break it down a little bit further. But today, let's get into the kind of the easy sale, the way we've packaged it up, the way that you guys can deliver it to market, and how we support you. So first, we'll talk a little bit about the solution features and benefits. What we're talking about today is wireless LTE broadband for business continuity. So it's a failover solution. Now, it's used in three different ways, and we can break that up into three different buckets. The low-hanging fruit is really on the payment transactions that you see on the left. There's vendors out there that have retail establishments and restaurants. If they're not collecting money from their customers, they're not making money. With the new EMV chip cards that are out there now, there's been a huge liability shift, and the shift is the banks are not taking the hit anymore. So what they're doing is they're shifting that back to the vendor that's running the credit card. So all of the vendors understand that they need an always-on internet connection if they're going to stay in business and they're going to collect from their customers. So we've seen a real big uptick in that type of service in the retail space. And it's for POS terminals as well. So the EMV is the third box right there, but the Samsung Pay, the Apple Pay, and gift cards kind of work the same way, where you have to go into the cloud, you have to go to a third-party cloud application or a server to be able to get authentication for those payment methods. The next one tied to Momentum would be voice over IP. We've tested our product over 4G LTE on all 4 networks using voice over IP backup. So when a customer's primary goes down, we're still there to back them up over the wireless. And what we've done is we've tested multiple phone calls simultaneously through our service, and it works great. Sometimes there may be some tweaking. That's why David's here to help with that. And then the third part of the kind of the 3 buckets that are really low-hanging fruit for the failover position are the cloud-based applications. We have Salesforce, we have WebEx. Everybody is in the cloud now, and a lot of applications are going through AWS. And if you haven't, this is more tied to the employees than collecting revenue from the customers, but you have an office full of employees in your office, they're just sitting on their hands if the internet's down because they can't reach these critical applications. So next slide, we'll talk a little bit about fixed wireless versus mobility. I really feel strongly that the market is still sensitizing to the difference of a fixed wireless solution versus a mobility solution. If Dave and I are on our mobile phones and we're on the highway, we get disconnected, we know we're both moving, we're both going to connect to another tower in the next 30 seconds and we can complete a call. Fixed wireless is totally different, and we see that the consumers, the buyers of the product, are still trying to compare fixed wireless to mobility. And I have something here to show you guys that shows that it doesn't work the same. Fixed wireless, as you guys know, is point on a map coverage. So we're picking a place that device is never moving, and you have to pick the right carrier from the beginning in order for the end user to have a good customer experience. And what we also see out there, you could take Sprint, you could take AT&T, Verizon, T-Mobile, none of them have a complete country footprint. So there's not a single network carrier that can provide 100% coverage. Good example for that is somebody that has 2,000 kiosks across the country. There's no way you could pick you could pick the top two, AT&T, Verizon, they're still not going to be able to service all the sites. That forces the customer to go out and to manage multiple agreements, multiple vendors, multiple platforms, multiple points of billing, and it just gets more complex. So what we've done is we've put together a carrier agnostic network, and we can truly provide the best coverage. So what we tell our customers is, if one of the 4 carriers is there, we can add it to your account and we can invoice you on one invoice for all 4 carriers and any mixture of those carriers. So now, as I mentioned a minute ago, the customer doesn't have to have multiple contracts. We act as the single source wireless solutions provider, all managed from a single platform, single pane of glass management. I'm going to go, there's another picture of this a few slides down, but just real quickly, this is a graphic of a customer that we have that owns 4 restaurants in Miami. Part of our process is for us to run the location against the databases that we have with the carriers on the back end to find out who's the strongest carrier, because again, we have to pick the right carrier the first time. So as an example, 4 locations all in Dade County. AT&T came up on the northwest location, the northeast location Verizon came up. We got Sprint and T-Mobile on the southern locations, and it's hard to see on this graphic, but I want to point out that Verizon wasn't even an option on the bottom 2 locations. So just to show you that even if you have just 4 sites, it means something to have carrier agnostic connectivity. Now let's talk about a little bit about the benefits to you guys as the partners, as the agents. So first thing, and kind of the thing that's right in our face is it's a new product. It's business continuity, a wireless 4G failover solution. So it's just another product that you can sell to your customer base. The carrier agnostic approach is a real benefit for the reasons that I just spoke about. We're taking the carrier out of the conversation. It's very similar to when you guys are selling UCaaS and the local loop is coming in, the last mile connection's coming in. The end user customer really doesn't care where that's coming from. They just care that they have that connectivity. So we're kind of looking at it the same way. We're taking it out of the conversation. Don't worry, Mr. Customer. If there is access from one of the carriers, we have you covered. One of the other things that I mentioned before, the EMV and PCI compliance. It's a big change that's happening right now out there in the marketplace, so it's something you definitely want to bring up to the customers. They're either going to be aware of it and they're going to agree with you, or you're going to tell them something that they're not aware of yet. Next thing that's a real benefit to our solution are dual SIMs. So what we're doing is we're actually putting 2 SIMs into a single radio device. We're activating one of them that's hot. The second one is going to be in standby mode. Sometimes when we do those back-end coverage checks with the carriers, it doesn't take into effect a couple of very major factors. One is topography of the landscape, and the other one is the building construction. So we've learned through this process already, guys. We've been doing this for a little while, so we've seen all of the gotchas that happen. And 2 of the gotchas are those 2 things. Topography, somebody's in a valley in Tennessee, and we looked on the coverage map and we see that the AT&T tower is a half a mile away. But what we don't know until we get the box out there and the customer tells us is that it's on the other side of the hill, so we're not getting coverage. The other thing is, their building is a 1950 building with 4-foot metal and concrete walls that doesn't penetrate the wireless signal very well. So we have the access to change carriers. on the fly, doing it remotely. So that's why we have the secondary, the backup carrier. Let's say we put AT&T first and Verizon second. We have an issue, Dave can actually remotely go into the box through the InControl 2 portal and be able to shut off the first SIM and activate the second SIM. So some of the other things that I think are maybe tied more towards the Momentum side and more towards the voice over IP and UCaaS players is that you guys get an improved SLA, or when you allow the customers to do bring your own broadband, you actually have the ability to give them an SLA. Because you don't have control over that last mile circuit. A lot of times they already have it and they're already using it, so you don't have vision into that. Using our product as a voice over IP provider gives you that access into the customer's network. It also allows you to be proactive versus reactive in a couple of different ways. I think the main way is through threshold alerts in our system, in our platform. So what we can do is we can set up threshold alerts that will not only alert the customer, but will also alert you guys as the reseller or the master agent, or whoever needs to know about it, or the IT company that works with the customer. We can send threshold alerts that automatically send emails when the customer is either using our device or hitting a certain level that they tell us that they want to put it in as, hey, I'm on a 1 gig plan, I want to know when I'm at 800 meg. So we can actually put multiple email addresses in so you guys will know about it to be proactive versus reactive. Tied to the new product, it kind of comes with that. It's an increased ARPU. Studies have been done. We've all been in this business a long time, and we know that the more products we can get into the customer, the stickier the business is going to be. And the longer that customer is going to stay with us. So our product helps you guys do that as well. It's a new commission stream. That's why we're standing here today for the master agent channel. And what we've done is we've really got it down to a science where we pre-configure the devices in our office so it's easy setup and installation, where the devices are ready to go on the correct carrier with the backup. And then based on what we see, there's also other things I'll get into in a few minutes about accessories and high gain antennas, power over Ethernet injectors to help get better signal for the customer. So the hardware is what we lead with. We have a whole lineup. We have access to all the Peplink devices. We buy direct from Peplink. We have access to Cradlepoint. We have access to Sierra Wireless and others. We lead with Peplink for a reason. We've both been in this business a long time. We went out there years ago and we looked at what was out in the marketplace and we made a decision to lead with Peplink. And it's a rugged enterprise device, single cellular radio, dual redundant SIMs as we mentioned before, PoE support, and managed via the InControl 2 portal. And the software that's attached to it is very robust, has GPS functionality, and all types of counters and functionality that allows you to really see what's going on in the customer's network. That's another conversation. I invite you guys to reach out to Dave and I afterwards to set up another call where we can show you the InControl portal, we can show you our Apogee system as well, and we can kind of go to that next step. I want to kind of keep it at the basic level for the failover today, if that's all right. Data Pro hardware options. So on the left side we have the Max Mini, and then on the right side we have the Max BR1. The main difference is that the Max BR1 is the edge router for the customer, where their primary access, their Time Warner, Comcast, cable modem, DSL, etc., plugs into our device, and the failover is built in automatically. What we found is that there's a lot of customers out there that already have their network set up, they have edge routers, they have switches, they have firewalls, that have dual WAN capability. In that case, they don't need to spend $549 for a new edge router. They can buy the Max Mini on the left side, which is the device that's built for bridge mode. So basically what you're doing is, it's a dumb terminal, it plugs into the customer's network in WAN port 2, where their primary connections in WAN port 1, and that device would actually do the failover logic as opposed to our device if it's at the edge. If you any questions, we'll be more than happy to answer that after we're done here, guys. So now we're at a snapshot of the InControl 2 portal. I think one of the important things to point out here would be at the 10 o'clock position under the Wi-Fi side of the circle. Every device from Peplink comes with a social login and captive portal functionality. Now what that does for the customer that owns the store that we're selling this to, it allows them to offer Wi-Fi service to the customers that are walking in the store, they can create a splash page with their name on it, their brand on it, and the customers that are in the store, if they want to use the Wi-Fi, they have to log in using Twitter, Google+, LinkedIn, Pinterest, whatever it may be. So they're gaining data from those customers and they're finding out who's in their store. Now, they can take that data and they can figure out a way to market to them at a later date, or they can work with a third-party application like ZenReach or Purple that are built to do that. Third-party applications that actually will take the data that you're mining from your customers and put a campaign together to go out and to remarket and to stay in constant contact with them. On the right side, it's a single pane of glass. This is just a snapshot of it. Anyone that wants to see a demo of the system, we'd be more than happy to show it to you guys. But it's not just about the connectivity stats, it's also about seeing all their devices in one place and keeping them organized and understanding when customers' devices are due and being able to manage the customer's life cycle process through this as well. Was there anything that you wanted to add there, Dave?
Yeah, I would like to add a couple of points. This is really a adaptable platform. So what this allows you to do is it gives you the ability to manage the devices not only directly from this portal, it also has API connectivity. So if anyone's using their own management OSS BSS platform out there, they can connect to it. So we have the ability to pipe that information into another system automatically through programming. It also has GPS capability, so if you have mobile applications, like if this device is in a vehicle, you can set up geofencing, so if it goes outside of a range, it will alert the customer. It also has many different alert systems for VPN or for up-down or for silence periods, so there's a lot of customizable features in here that we can supply to the customer and to the people managing the hardware as well.
Thanks, Dave. That's a great addition to it. Now let's talk a little bit about product positioning. You guys don't really need help with this, but let's make sure that we're all on the same page. You guys know what it takes to sell to the customer. Now, the way we see this, I think the most important thing here of all 5 of these on this slide is the over-the-top sale. Whether you're selling direct internet access, selling an SD-WAN solution, selling a point-of-sale solution, selling a UCaaS/VoIP solution to the customer, our product is an over-the-top sale that adds value to any one of those that I just mentioned. So we kind of talk to the agents and we ask them to take an opt-out approach, meaning included on every quote that you have to the customer for other products, let them tell you they don't want it. In my old days, I used to be a stockbroker, so it was one of those, I kind of put it to, if I can show you a 30% return in 60 days, is that something you'd be interested in? It's like one of those questions that it's hard to say no to. And there's another slide that I'll get to in a little bit about business internet. You have insurance for everything in your life today. This is insurance for your business internet. Why would you not want to have it? Some of the other applications and product positioning options is about quick install. You have somebody that has a new office they're opening up. It's a chain of restaurants, and there's going to be special construction from Comcast or Time Warner to get a link in there. They can use us as fast as we can ship the device out there and they can power it up. They have access to the internet. So this way, what we do with those customers is we'll start them on a high usage plan, and then with the understanding that once they get that primary circuit in, we're going to back off the plan and we're going to move them back to failover, where they're going to take that primary circuit and plug it into our device. Crash kit, we're in Florida, guys. Hurricane season, it's coming, right? Or we're just about getting there now. This is when the phone rings off the hook. When a storm comes through, everyone needs to have access to it. So it's almost a good idea to maybe start thinking about that, and we'll help you guys put some marketing material together around the natural disaster side of the crash kit solution for the wireless connectivity. Now the primary markets. I'm going to point out 2 important ones. It's really the retail and restaurant guys, because that's where you can whale hunt. That's where you're going to get the most number of sites. And we all know that to sell a 2-site location takes the same work as selling a 50-site location. So you might as well whale hunt and go for the big boys, and that's where you're going to find it. Tied to the point of sale and the EMV compliance, and again, the retail and restaurants, they're using VoIP today too. So it's really all 3 of those low-hanging fruit areas are applicable to the retail and restaurant area. When we talk about whale hunting, the kiosk-based businesses is another good part of it too, because with kiosks, we're really talking about multiple sites. We're talking about a lot of sites, and the only way kiosks companies that sell via kiosks make a lot of money is by having a lot of locations, because they're not printing money from one site. They're making a little bit. So the only way that it scales is for them to have 100, 200, 1,000 sites. So that's another great area where it can actually be used for primary versus failover, and we could talk a little bit more about that, because if you're just running point of sale, voice over IP phones, and some simple inventory transactions, you could actually use us as primary and not have to have a wireline connection at all in that situation. Now we'll talk about the market data. Forgive me if the bottom left is a little bit grainy, but I think the important thing is the circle on the right side. Now, there's been a lot of studies done, and everyone's got different numbers, but the one thing that's consistent is that there are huge numbers. That the amount of revenue and the amount of money that is lost from companies due to internet downtime is massive, because these days companies depend on it more than ever for any type of service that they're interacting with the rest of the world. So if you look at the green part, you see 17% of that $700 billion figure is due to revenue loss. Now, what is that? That is not being able to run a credit card and not being able to service your customer. But what I want to point out here is that the blue part of the circle is the productivity loss. That's 78% of the number, so it's 4 times the revenue loss. So what we're looking at here is that, Mr. Customer, you might not be thinking about it. You're thinking about the money coming in and being able to run credit cards. But more important, and 4 times larger than that, is the cost that you have to pay your employees when they can't access the services that they need to do their daily business function for working for you, which is the third-party applications in the cloud, whatever services, Salesforce, WebEx, anything on AWS, or voice over IP calls to be able to speak to customers. Now let's talk a little bit about the marketing collateral that we offer up. We want to share this with you guys, and we open it up to anything that you guys want to see differently. We obviously are open to making a quick change on anything that you see here. We want to tout the carrier agnostic approach. We think that means something to the customer that has multiple sites. 4 carriers, 1 platform, 1 bill. And then on the right side, this is an older one. The previous one, this circle right here, I think is more applicable in today's world. But this is something that was done a couple of years ago by, I don't know, it was Gartner or Cisco, but they kind of tied the average company having 14 hours of downtime per year. This is what we already showed you guys before, why the carrier agnostic program works, and this is something that is marketing material that we can give to you to show the customers, that shows the carrier locations for each one of these. And then there's a clean Data2Go Max BR1 Mini that you guys can take. You can brand it yourself. You can add your services to it. Just something that you guys can use however you need. Here are the 2 most important ones in my eyes, guys. The business internet insurance. You have auto insurance, you have flood insurance, you have home insurance, you have personal property insurance. Why would you not want to have insurance for your business internet? It makes sense to the customer when we put it in those terms. And the other side is for the POS and the retail/restaurant side of the industry, the EMV compliance slide. The liability shift is what we talk about on the top left there, that hey, Mr. Vendor, Mr. Customer, you're on the hook now. The bank doesn't eat that anymore, and that's why they created the chips and the cards. The other part is that the customers are really expecting it today. They want to be able to walk into a store, and they don't want to be told, hey, I can only take cash from you. Processing. You have to be able to process in the cloud today. You have to have that always-on internet connection, and it's required because of the new laws. So you guys can brand this with your own logo as well. A lot of questions that we get from the end user customers that the agents come back to us. Well, Rob, they're trying to figure out if they should use the $9.95 plan or the $19.95 plan that includes 1 gig. What does a gig include? So we put this quick graphic together to kind of show the customer that they can get 21,000 point of sale transactions with 1 gig of usage. So unless you're Walmart, you're not hitting the number there. So if you're a small shop, and you're doing 21,000 John, I'll give you a copy of this if you want, bud. 21,000 transactions. You can actually run your VoIP phones, you can run your point of sale, and you can run light inventory third-party cloud applications by using us as primary service. This is just a basic diagram of how it works, guys. The cable in DSL gets cut, the LTE automatically kicks in, connects the customer back to the internet, so the crucial retail functions stay up, like point of sale, IP phones. One thing that we haven't spoken about is video surveillance, and we have a lot of that today, and digital signage. Next slide is a quick video that we've put, and it's out on our website, and we encourage you guys to take that and share it with the rest of the world and whoever you want to share it with. We built it at a layman level for the business customer to understand what we're really providing there. So let's just take a minute and a half and listen to this one, guys.
This is Joe, Backhoe Joe. Joe accidentally tore straight through the fiber optic wire that pumps the World Wide Web into Gary's golf shop. Backhoe Joe basically just severed the main artery to this guy's business bloodline. So, why is Gary so www.calm about his offline catastrophe? Well, like many business owners who see an average of 14 hours of internet downtime per year, totaling billions of lost revenue, Gary invests thousands of dollars each year to keep his backup internet up and running for emergencies just like this. Whoa, wait a minute. Gary? You mean you've been paying month after month for unused backup internet service that flows through the exact same wire that Backhoe Joe just busted to bits? Uh-oh. That's like keeping your life savings in your mall-addicted teenage daughter's personal bank account. That's like setting up an appointment to get life insurance the day after your funeral. That's just, not really the smartest thing, Gary. What Gary needs is Data2Go. Data2Go diversifies your backup internet. It's wireless, delivered from a lofty cloud that's out of Backhoe Joe's destructive reach. For less than your Mocha Caramel Latte Grande, only $9.95 per month, you'll have constant connection to our reliable 4G LTE network. It's efficient, it's speedy, and it's yours with no contract. Data2Go provides hardware for easy self-installation. No more wasted money for service you don't use. Plus, you'll also have quick access to the DataPro View portal. Keep a constant eye on all of your devices and locations. Monitor usage, monitor firmware, and run systematic health checks. Go to Data2GoWireless.com and sign up for your risk-free 2-week trial. Diversify your backup internet and protect yourself from the downed internet woes of the world's Backhoe Joes. Data2Go and Data2Go Wireless are part of the Xeris Group family of products.
Okay, thanks for listening to that. So again, it's a basic layman's level description of the product that we think the customers can understand as opposed to getting too technical with them. And I think one of the other things that it points out is that a lot of the customers, they have their primary access and they have their secondary access that are both going through the same conduit into the building. So when Backhoe Joe comes by, he's ripping that up, and the customer's down, they lost their primary and their secondary. So changing up the transport method and the service delivery makes a difference for the customer as well, and it further protects them from a 100% outage. Next section, guys, we're going to talk about the Data2Pro bundled components. So just so you can kind of wrap your head around what we're really bringing to the customer here. So we're bringing them the hardware solution, with dual SIM, single radio. We're bringing them the software, which is the back end to manage that hardware. We're also giving them access to the carrier agnostic network with all 4 carriers and the SIM cards for each one of them. And we're also providing support. In the agent channel versus our resale channel, it's a little bit different. We're here, we work for you guys. If there's something you need help to get on the phone with the customer, you need to explain it, you got a big deal and you want to make sure that we attack it the right way, we're always open. Dave's ready for a technical call whenever you want it. I'm ready for the operational/sales and strategy calls with the customers. So we're here to support you guys. We'll go a little bit deeper into it towards the end of the presentation about how you guys kick off the process and how you guys start off the quote process with the customer. But next, let's go into the pricing. This is CapEx pricing. Customers paying for the device up front, and the 2 plans on the left are really the failover plans, the business continuity plans, where the $39.95 3-gig plan is more of that kiosk plan for primary use, because it doesn't make sense for $39.95 if you're not using it every month. So that's really the first level primary plan. So the $9.95, the customer pays $9.95 a month plus $3 in monitoring, which is access to the software that controls the hardware. And once there's 10 meg of data included, which really just covers the overhead from the PepLink device that speaks to the internet. So the customer really doesn't get any connectivity for the $9.95. It's just having it in standby mode and being able to have it ready when they need it. And then the customer pays $24.95 per gig when they have an outage, when we recognize that it's being used. You have a question, John?
Yeah, is that your approach for like a crash kit, that they go with like a plan like that, or is that a totally different pricing?
No, it could be, it's the same. For the crash kit, we could start them at the $39.95. We could start them at $65 for 5 gig. We could start them at $150 for 10 gig, depending on how many people in their office. We'll talk, we'll get deeper into it, guys. When we have those one-on-one conversations with you, we'll talk to you about best practices of figuring out what applications the customer's running, how many people are in their office. We have to be able to gauge what plan we need to put them on first. The worst thing that can happen, and the way that it blows up in our face, guys, is that we don't ask the customer the right questions. They put it on a 5 gig plan, and they do 30 gig, and they get a huge bill, and they're screaming at both of us. So we have to ask those right questions. Yes?
What if, say if it's a small hotel that has like 40 rooms and they're waiting on Comcast to build into that, it's gonna take a while. Can you guys service that one?
We can service that one, but what we would suggest is that we really lock down the box down to only allowing certain types of traffic. If you let 40 people hit a device, it's going to blow up. I don't mean the device is going to blow up, but the bill's going to be huge for that hotel, and they're not going to be happy with it. But there are some things that we've done in the past where we know that they really don't have control over who's using it, but we have control to get into the device and limit the types of traffic that's being passed. So Dave, maybe you can touch on what are some of the things that we can limit?
Yeah, so we have content filtering, we can do access control lists. So we have different ways that we can limit the traffic or possibly throttle the traffic depending on what the customer need is. We can also make sure that business critical data is prioritized over other types of traffic. So we have a lot of interesting things that we can do with the technology. Additional to that, we do offer equipment that has more than one radio. So if you do have larger applications like a hotel, we are able to diversify that connection and balance it over multiple radios to get faster throughput for a better user experience.
So what does that equate to in real world? Because what we typically see with a PepLink or Gridpoint or Sierra is around 5 meg, sometimes 15 meg bandwidth, depending if it's a good coverage area.
Mm-hmm.
That extra radio, what's the impact that practically see?
Great point.
Yeah, I'll take this one too.
Go ahead, Dave. Go ahead.
All right, so the way the device works out of the box, it does what's called session-based load balancing. And what that means is it takes a data packet from the source and diversifies it from one radio to another in a round-robin fashion. So you're able to get the aggregated amount of bandwidth from that session-based load balancing. So if you're doing 10 megs on both radios, you have the total of 20 megabytes of possible bandwidth from those radios.
Think about how your SD-WAN application, that Robin's SD-WAN application is load balancing. It's kind of similar to that.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And, well, it's load balancing, and then it's also the Speed Fusion application too.
Right,
That's the
yes.
201 and 301 level class. We'll get into that in another call for sure.
I'm sorry, I thought he had a question.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to like connect, see apples to apples. I know Verizon, they put a store, they have a little Wi-Fi device, and you hook up your network too. So you're saying your device is just, the radio signal is much more powerful than the ones you see at the retail stores, or AT&T, Sprint, T-Mobile, and they also have a little device,
Yeah, if you buy, the first thing I'll say is that if you buy a device from the Verizon store, you only have Verizon, right? So you buy that Verizon device, it's got a Verizon embedded module, it's got an embedded module and SIM in it, where you're not going to be able to easily change that to another carrier because that device is not carrier agnostic. It's built specifically a SKU that's specific to Verizon. So that's the first thing. The second thing is that what we've done is we've gone a step further with our devices, and there are antennas that come with the device from PepLink or from Cradlepoint, But what we've done is we've actually shopped out there and went to the OEMs, and we've gotten into high gain antennas to actually double the signal for the customer as well. So when you're working with us, you're not just buying a device off the shelf, you're buying it from somebody that's actually gone through the process and understands best practices.
Yeah, and
Sounds like Dave wants to say something.
I'd like to add a couple more points. With our technology, it's much more robust than what you would get on a typical MiFi or consumer device that you see in the store. So we have a full-blown firewall in our equipment. We have a cloud management portal, so if you have multiple locations, you can centrally manage these devices. We have alerting that comes from not only the device itself, but also from our back-end platform that we have from the carrier, so we can set up threshold alerting. So there's a lot more robust technology and features that we can offer compared to what you would purchase in a retail store.
The Max BR1 Mini was meant to be a device that's in bridge mode. It's just a dumb terminal that provides connection to the internet. While it's an option to turn it into an edge router for the customer's network, it doesn't have the same horsepower as the Max BR1. It's not as rugged as the Max BR1. So for me to offer the customer, hey, you can use the cheap one an extra $100, so instead of $299, it's $399, and you could use it as an edge router, and it's not going to be as robust as the Max BR1 for $549. At that point, we're talking about $150 difference. Mr. Customer, do you really want to do that? We'll let you if you want.
If a customer has their own firewall.
If the customer has their own firewall, then they're using it in pass-through mode and they don't need the failover license, so they're only paying $299 for the Mini in that case.
Right, but they have to buy the Mini if they want to use their firewall. That's the situation that I've been put in 100% of the time.
But why would you want to buy the more expensive device if it's going to be in bridge mode?
No, you don't.
Right.
You want it, the main point is you can't use, like, how I started selling the services, and I just want to bring this up so that our agents don't go out there and say, hey, for $9.95 a month, you can have a backup and your firewall can fail over the backup, because in 100% of the times when I've sold a product, I've given the Sonic Wall model and firmware and all that stuff. And
Okay.
then you guys have said, no, you need to buy the device if you want to do failover from you guys.
He's talking about the plan versus getting the hardware. Yeah, so we have to provide a piece of equipment that has a cellular capability. If you were bringing your own equipment that had its own embedded module and had its own ability to insert a SIM card, then we could sell you the monthly plan only. But since you're using equipment that does not have that technology built in, we do need to provide that hardware option in order to facilitate our services.
Yeah, the Sonic Wall doesn't connect to the internet over the wireless network. It doesn't have a module or a SIM card in it. So
Well, I think you can do a cradle point, and it has a port for a cradle point to be put in, and then you can put your card in the cradle point.
If a
Well,
customer
that's-
had a...
I know, but that's the same thing as what we're doing with the Peplink device. So you either buy, the customer still has to buy a device if they have a Sonic Wall.
Certain
They still
models-
have to buy a device that's going to connect to the internet.
Yeah, it's something that has been very confusing when selling the product.
Uh-huh.
So I now just say, hey, if you want Data2Go, buy the Peplink and the service, and it's $299 or whatever, $399.
You know what? That's better for everybody, David, because we want the, I'm sorry. That's better for everybody because when it comes down to troubleshooting and it comes down to managing the device, when customers use their own device and they try and get just the plan from us, we have finger pointing and it's miserable. And we don't want to do that anymore. We started offering customer provided hardware options on the agent form, and we're going to take that away because it just creates more problems. It's not worth it. Listen, if you want a failover solution and you don't want to, and you can't pay $299 for a device and pay $10 a month for the service, okay.
Yeah, so me bringing this up isn't a knock on Data2Go.
Yeah, I know.
It's more of like, this is how you sell the product, and just get your customers used to buying a piece of equipment.
Yep.
So that you can avoid finger pointing, and it, like when they call into your knock or email into your knock, then, you guys can actually own the problem.
Yep. Yeah, that we definitely want to because we don't own it when it's customer provided hardware.
Right.
Yeah. Yes.
I walked in with you, but, you're saying that you can put Verizon cellular phones on your bill? Is that what you said earlier?
No.
No. When you were talking about Verizon, what were you talking about?
I was talking about a lot of things with Verizon. I need more of a question.
Cell phones.
We don't do cell phones.
You don't do them and you can't bill them on, if they've got if we got services, we can't add
No, we are a data-centric provider. We only do data, we do not carry voice traffic at all.
Even for backups, to the Telecom?
No,
well, that's
voice over
over
IP
IP.
is data. Voice over IP and UCAS solution is voice that's in data packets. So to us, that's data.
Yeah, I understand.
Okay. Was there another question on the other side, guys?
Can you amortize the cost of devices over,
Barry, thank you. Segue to the next slide. Here's the OpEx model. So this is individual case basis, guys, and we haven't put this in production either. It's ICB, and if you guys have a deal, 50, 100, 200 sites, whatever it may be, and you see that one of the sticking points is the customer not wanting to pay up front for the hardware for that many sites, we'll definitely work out a number with you. These numbers are not written in stone, but just giving you guys an idea of what to expect. $39.90 for a 1 gig bundle on a 36-month term that includes the Max BR1 Mini, and $59.90 for the 3 gig bundle that for 36 months that includes the Mini as well. So it is something that we know is a benefit to the buyers of our service, and we're starting to roll it out slow and understand why. We're carrying the note on these boxes, right? So we have to make sure we know who our customers are, we know what the application is, we know what the usage is going to be, and we know that the agent is in front of it and helping us with the deal. Okay. Now we can talk a little bit about installation and implementation. Dave, what do you think about jumping in here and talking a little bit about this part of it? You're a better fit for it. So
Okay,
let's
great.
do that.
So we provide all the documentation necessary in order to facilitate a successful install the first time around. We've seen the heartaches that come with installation. Many installers believe that they are only capable of installing our equipment in the communication closet or next to the rack, and that's certainly not the case. With our equipment, it needs to be placed in an optimal signal location, which is typically higher up on a wall, in the ceiling, or next to a window to get that true line of sight from the device to the tower. So what we've done is we've built out several robust documents that go through the installation of the devices, like where to place the device, how to test for the best signal, what all the different metrics from the device truly mean. And we provide this, and this can be given to the customer, where they can also give us a call if they have any additional troubleshooting steps that they need to take if they're not getting a signal to the device, such as building construction, the LTE bands aren't reaching the device and giving a good throughput. That's when we're able to switch the device to the secondary carrier. So we have all that material ready to go when we sell the unit.
Thanks, Dave.
sorry, can I have a question? Regarding
Sure.
that very subject? Do you have the ability to run a remote antenna? So for example, if the device has to go in the data closet where the firewall is,
Yes,
wire in a remote antenna?
yes.
Barry,
All
I
right,
think we
so-
could have a good conversation offline on all this stuff
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah, so quick answer, yes. Our units come with a SMA connector for both antennas, so this allows us to use any type of additional antenna out there. So if you wanted to mount something outside the building or use our higher gain internal antennas, which have a longer cord length that has a 9-foot cable, we have that ability to utilize it right out of the box.
Okay, guys. Next part of service and support, we'll get through that really quick. As Dave mentioned, we have full documentation for everything. These are some of the links. I think the most important one is on the next slide, which is the quote request. This is taken from a screenshot from our website. On the bottom left edge of the page on our website at Data2Go agent quote request. And then on the right side is the form that pops up where you give us all the data, all the information, and that allows us to know what the customer location is for us to be able to check for coverage. And what happens is usually about 15 minutes you'll get an agreement back that you can put in front of the customer with the pricing and the terms and conditions. Last slide, guys, is the July spiff that we're doing for this month is basically getting an additional $10 if you sell. I can't even see it. Is it 15 to 49 units? Can you see it up there? 50 to 99 is $15 a unit, and 100 plus units is 20. And we're also offering another special bonus for this month as well. Anybody that does 100 devices gets an additional $1,000 as well. So I know we went over a little bit. I'm sorry about that, guys. But I don't know if we have time for a couple more minutes of Q&A or not, or all the questions already came out and we're good?
We got one here.
One more?
that 5 minute wait between one SIM and the other, you guys already know about that? Like that SIM card is down, last service for AT&T or whoever, and then, you guys know manually to change it to the other one automatically, or do we have to call you and customer support and all that?
It's two different things.
Yeah.
It's either it doesn't work the first time we get it out there, or there's an outage at the tower where we need to use the second SIM.
Yeah.
So how do we handle that, though?
How do we handle that? So if there is an outage, you'll have to call in, and we can switch that SIM card on remotely. So the way we set up the units is we have the device ready to hot switch over to the secondary SIM if we need to. So once that SIM is activated, the device will automatically reprovision to the carrier, and it will just start up without any interaction to the device that the customer has to do.
Guys, thanks for being patient with us. We appreciate it. Any questions you have, please just come over and ask us anytime during the day today.